Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business of Security podcast, brought to you by the International Security Driver Association. I'm your host, Lawrence Snow. The purpose of this podcast is to focus on the business side of security, to share ideas, tips, and advice and how-tos on networking, technology, marketing, and tools you can use to successfully grow your business. In this podcast, I'll be sharing my feedback on the As Is Expo, from which I just returned, and a pretty hard-hitting, tough love kind of business talk on giving people what they want for free. ASIS, or ASIS, stands for the American Society for Industrial Security, and they hold an exposition or an expo every year. This year was in Atlanta, and this was my second ASIS in Atlanta. The first was a couple months after the Summer Olympics in 1996. So over the last 20 years or so, I've attended probably about 6, and the last one making 7 expos. And as technology has grown in our personal life, so has it in the products and tools for security. The last As Is Expo I went to was down in Florida in 2011, and this one in Atlanta seemed even a bit smaller in attendance, and the amount of booths were smaller as well. And even the ones in 2011, the businesses in 2011, the booths were more grand, if you will, really soup to nuts type of thing. And this year, even smaller. I don't know if that's an economic thing or I'm not sure. Maybe you have an idea why. Most of the booths were made up of cameras. 360 cameras, FLIR cameras. Even FLIR was there, actually. Big brands, too. Sony, Canon were there. And so they had cameras everywhere. The next big set of booths were focused on gates, stopping people and vehicles, from turnstiles to gates that would stop 20 tons of a truck trying to get through. The rest of the booths were a hodgepodge of companies ranging from executive protection services and training to 511 tactical clothing. There was a smattering of insurance companies there and some universities, which is nice to see. AMU, Texas A&M, and Brandeis for my own home state. But despite all the technology, data, and apps, it all comes down to handshakes, introductions, and exchanging of business cards to do the networking, to tell your story, and to share information. A bit of advice for any conference, especially one the size of ASIS. Before you even set one foot in the hall, do your homework on what businesses are going to be there and what value you can bring to them, and vice versa. ASIS had an app just for the expo, so it made it easier to plan your route and write in some notes. Make sure you know what you're going to say before you meet folks who represent that business. So get your elevator speech correct. Make sure if you have a team, they're all saying the same thing, so there is no miscommunication when you introduce yourself. The most important takeaway from any expo, convention, conference, etc. is the follow-up. Follow up with those that you met. Follow up with those that you exchange business cards with. Just send a simple email. Just remind them who you are, what you talked about, and give them your contact information. When should you follow up? I recommend as soon as possible. As soon as you have the ability to do so, maybe within a day when you're back at your office, go through all your business cards, write down some notes, and send out those emails. There's so much more that goes on at ASIS other than the expo. So for more information, check out asisonline.org. And the next expo will be in Anaheim, California, 2015. So check them out. On to the main topic of today, giving people what they want for free. Of course, by people, I mean your market, your clients, colleagues of yours, and potential clients. How do you know what they want? You ask. Ask them through the ways you communicate with them. I hope you're communicating with them through email, social media, newsletters, magazines, any digital format, or just use a simple feedback form on your website or a small survey somewhere online or offline. Maybe you can print it and mail it to them and have them mail them back to you. But hearing from your customers supplies you with what they need, what they want, what their issues are, or what's the word, pain points, along with other demographic information. What business type are they? What line of work are they in? And where are they located? You can organize this data and find commonalities. Find ways in which you can create content that will help solve your clients' current and potential problems and other issues based on your knowledge and experience. The next step is to share this valuable, useful content with your market freely and without any expectations to get in return. Now that's a hard one to swallow, but trust me, this will work. Sharing your knowledge on relevant subjects does 4 things for your business. Keeps your business top of mind. Number 2 is it builds trust with your market. Number 3, grows your business as the content is shared through word of mouth on social media networks. And number 4, it separates you from your competitors. So the question you might be asking is, what content is considered quote-unquote valuable? Well, I rely on Guy Kawasaki's 3 forms of value: information, analysis, and assistance. Information is defined as what just happened. It's the important things that you should know about, your clients should know about. Analysis explains the information to your clients. Assistance explains how your company can help your clients avoid dangerous situations. These types of value should be unique to you and your brand and should have a positive influence. Here's some examples of value. Industry news. How you solved a problem for a particular client. Your perspectives on particular products or services. A simple safety checklist, or maybe a how-to video on a new product or service. In all of these aspects, you want to stand out as a real human being who has faced and overcome challenges. This is an opportunity to tell your story, a real story from your heart, from your gut, a life lesson. So how do you share it? Well, just the way in which you communicate to your market. You share it through social media. You share it through email letters, white papers, blog posts, videos, podcasts, interviews, and a whole lot more. Some of you listening to this will think that you are not a writer. Well, you don't have to be Ernest Hemingway. Just give it a try. A typical article on the web is roughly 500 to 800 words or shorter, and it does not have to be perfect. There's spell checkers, grammar checkers, a whole bunch of checkers, all for free. Just put your sentences and information into these checkers, and they'll tell you what needs to be changed. Now, although I've talked mostly about sharing content for free, you can also share your time and resources for free. I suggest you take time to talk to your clients, potential clients and colleagues, whether it is through email, on the phone, or in person. Be accessible and available for questions that they might have, if they want to give you feedback. And your role is to give honest answers. I even say go so far as to make connections with your competitors. Here's why. For example, a competitor has put together a small seminar and asked if you'd like to speak at it for free. If you're available, why not? If you know this competitor, know what they're all about, and you know you'll get something out of it, such as an opportunity to share your story, your brand, and what makes you you, why not? So here's the takeaway from this podcast. Creating valuable, useful content built on strategic goals on a consistent basis and marketing it correctly takes time, energy, and maybe some money. But it is very worth your investment, as it will build your business, increase brand awareness, build trust among your market, and make you an authority on content topics. Well, that's a wrap for this one. Thanks for listening. I'd love to hear from you. You can send your comments to lawrence.snow@gmail.com. For show notes and to read more about the business of security, go to larrysnow.me. I'll see you in the next episode, where I'll be sharing a few tips on Twitter.